How's it going, everybody? It's Henry Lawrence Harrison. We're going to take a look at the astrology for this coming week. Thank you all for coming back. Thank you for listening. If you just found my channel, I do weekly astrology reports, monthly astrology reports, yearly reports based on the annual revolution technique. That's mostly what we're focusing on here, and we do some readings of some good astrological books. So, hope you all had a good week. It was a little crazy out there, but you know, it's the situation we have. So, let's dive right in. But before we do that, I just want to quickly thank God and pray to God for His wisdom to go with us as we contemplate these mysteries which He has established. So I thank God and I pray for His wisdom to be with us. In Jesus' name, amen. So we are here at the first minutes of the Aries moon, and we can see how much influence Neptune is influencing, with what influence Neptune is working with Mars in this scheme. And Mars is moving into the trine to Pluto. Let's see, it's only 5 degrees, so it's about, I think, a week. I don't have Pluto on my calendar, so I can't say. Well, we can see it when we come to it, but before that, though, Saturn is coming into the square to Uranus, and we did a video just talking about that transit, and that's going to happen on Wednesday. So, if you want the long and short of it, I think that this Aries moon and this Gemini moon are going to be the better times out of this period in general, but it's going to depend a lot on your chart. If you have a lot of cardinal sign energy, then the last few years may have been more difficult with the moon in your chart, but now the energy's moved into the fixed sign axis for this period. So all the squares and oppositions, and even the sextile aspect isn't always a benefic aspect either. So anywhere you have that from the fixed signs, mostly the square and the opposition, or where you're seeing sort of difficulty or intensity. For me, with the Neptune sextile Mars aspect, I saw people going off with it, so it wasn't too surprising, especially as the moon was going through the last minutes of the zodiac, the last degrees there. But before we get any further off, let's just kind of move through it, and then we'll go to the calendar, and we'll go to the transits to the annual revolution. So yeah, the moon is going to pick up on all of these sextiles and come into alignment with the north node. For the next 2 days, Mercury retrograde meets up with Jupiter and passes it, and Venus trines the north node. So the moon and the north node, or the moon and Venus, are interacting with the north node where Neptune has been symbolically, and Jupiter is approaching, and Mercury passed through that last week. So I think the north node plays out in a lot of different ways, but in general, it is where we're going. It's what we're building towards. It might not be where we are yet, but it's where we can get to if we use what we have where we are now, which is represented by the south node. And it's a difficulty, it's a situation, depending on the house that you're talking about and what context, the south node can tell you just an area you have a conflict or a problem. Like mine's in the fourth house, so just a difficulty around my basic living situation. So, it just like it's a theme that seems to want to come up around the South Node, but it depends on the context that you're talking about. But this all looks good, It's a good balance. It's nice when there's a nice balance between the two areas, especially with this trapezoidal shape we have going on. It looks like there's a great possibility for a lot of forward movement or changes being able to manifest in the process of Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrograde is going to go towards Saturn at this point, so Mercury is going to take on a more Saturnian theme. I think we're going to see the rest of the Mercury retrograde conjunct Jupiter themes play out today, and then until the 20th, when Mercury goes direct and is no longer applying towards Saturn, we have this whole week, it looks like, to play out these themes. So that's why I'm bringing special mention to it, because it's not ever going to be an exact conjunction, but when a planet is applying to another planet by body, it's gonna be an aspect. It's gonna play out energetically, and because Mercury is a convertible planet, it takes on the nature or manifests the nature of the planet that it's speaking to, so to speak. And because Saturn is of the nature of a malefic planet and it's in its own house, it's not as bad as if Saturn was in a place where he was in detriment. So it's actually, according to Ramsey, and I think I've read in Bonatus, both of them, they talk sort of about, they talk definitely about how Saturn, it's like a cross, they say it's like a cross man who has what he wants, someone who's naturally not, Saturn is naturally cold, sort of bitter in a way. Those themes show up with Saturn. But anyway, before we lose more time, I just want to say that yeah, Saturn is in a good place, but it's still Saturn. It's still representing a difficulty or limitation. But Saturn, as far as Saturn goes, is in a pretty good spot. So let's just keep going. So it'll be the next 24 hours from now. Yeah, so the moon moves through all of the sextiles, and Venus, who rules the sextile, looks like she's in a good spot. So if you need to play out those themes relative to Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Mercury towards Saturn, all those themes have an opportunity to move forward in a positive growth with the moon, because the moon is moving forward. It's on the 6th day now. It's almost the sextile aspect. So let's just keep going. Make sure I'm not missing anything on my calendar here. Yeah, there's a couple things in the annual revolution, but we're going to deal with that when we get to the calendar. So, alright, so the moon moves towards Uranus square, or the Saturn square Uranus transit. So it will be exact on the day that Saturn squares Uranus, Wednesday. The moon will be exactly conjunct Uranus. So, we're going to see financial themes. We're going to see themes of limitation and restriction, and maybe unexpected things dealing with restrictions. It's all going to play out, and that's why I'm kind of using a very abstract concept with that. Like I'm saying, restrictions versus, liberating force. It's it's going to play out on many levels. So, look for the good in the situation, because it will be going on pretty much all year. And we can, with Mercury there, I think we can, especially Mercury retrograde, make quite an insight into what this theme is going to be. But I expect financial themes, structural themes, that's what we're really looking at. So it's so rare. I feel like a lot of us are just looking at what's going to happen on that day to kind of inform us about the rest of the year, with the retrogrades and the passing again by the square. All right, so when we come to Thursday, the sun will, by the end of the day, looks like move into Pisces, and Mars will be at the trine. I want to mention this now, I suppose. Mars will be at the trine to where he was in the annual revolution and where Jupiter was, both on Thursday. And that's one of the big transits to the revolution we have this week. The other one was on Monday. It's Jupiter conjunct to the moon, where Venus has been, where Mercury's been, where the sun was, where Saturn is approaching, but now Jupiter's there. So we'll read that. But yeah, so that's that one. And on this day, like I said, Mars trine where those planets were in the last year. And then on Saturday, the sun will go across Mercury of last year. So it's picking up on the mercurial side of the Pisces that we had last year. So anyway, yeah, we will talk about that. Venus leaves her term on this day during this Taurus moon. So the moon, well, really what we're picking up on in the general circumstances, it seems like, is just the magnitude of these changes, it looks like, and also the magnitude of the way that things aren't going to change and the way we need things not to change. It's like the way we need the structure, and we can't afford a full-scale destruction of the old order. There has to be a balance, and that's why there's this tension here on many different levels. Okay. So, yeah, the moon will have to pick up on that, and then all the other squares. So I feel like there'll be a lot coming out today that we really just can't predict, honestly, other than it's going to be of Saturn's nature, it's going to be of Uranus's nature, it's going to be of the nature of a conflict or a tension. And the moon's going to be right in the middle of those circumstances. But, the silver lining is that Mars here is kind of sitting in this good connection to the outer planets ruled by Jupiter and Venus. So, it's going to be okay in many respects, And the moon is picking up on all of that hope, looks like, and the ability to make some really strong forward action, even on a it's like a very deep level. It's a very deep level, and it's going to take of these three natures, it looks like, as the moon goes through those last squares and reaches Mars. So this could be like dealing with loss. That's kind of what I'm getting. Making the best of a difficult situation, or maybe just like really overcoming the situation despite a sense of loss, or difficulty around our ability to change, because Mars has been going through this set of squares since it left Aries. When it retrograded in Aries, the Mars had to go through I think, several different squares as it was passing through everything. So this is kind of like the last thing Mars has to really push through. Venus is going to come ahead because she's faster and make the square to Mars. I think it's next Thursday on the 25th, the day that, well, no. It is this week. It's on Friday. So as this is all playing out, and we start coming to the square to the sun with the moon for the first quarter moon, I think it's what it's called. The first quarter moon. So yeah, let's just take a look at this. So the moon will move past these final degrees, make a trine to Pluto, it looks like, and then go void of course. So these themes with Pluto was the last aspect when the moon left Pisces with the sextile today, yesterday. So what was that day? The 13th to the 14th. Yeah, so I feel like, there could be some irritation, and I would make sure you don't try to take advantage, don't take advantage of anybody, or don't let anybody take advantage of you around this time, to avoid, anyone getting hurt. So looks like in the early morning hours of Friday, the moon comes into Gemini, makes the first quarter square to the sun really late. It looks like I have it on my calendar as the 19th. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. So Friday, early in the morning, the moon makes the first quarter square to the sun. Sun's in Pisces. So it's a big personal energy change and an interpersonal energy dynamic going on Friday with Venus square Mars. So, this has been building up for a while, and it reaches its culmination at this point. It looks like in a more societal context, in a more like the word I want to say is streets, so I mean there could be a lot of men and women on the streets this day trying to get what they want, you know what I mean? So that's kind of on a level what it looks like. But it's just like, can we all get what we need? But it's a crisis in action, but it's a critical moment around society, interpersonal relationships, limitations, it looks like, with Mercury retrograde shadow there going towards. So Mercury is slowing down in the midst of this, still going towards Saturn, but those are kind of the themes I'm seeing. But to finish up the week of this part, so the moon will push through that first quarter square, so it's like taking action around all these themes, depending on what you have to do. It's kind of the general background energy, but the moon will start picking up on Saturn, on Mercury retrograde, Jupiter on this day, and come into alignment with the North Node by the end of next week. And now I want to make note that when this month comes all the way back around, this is going to be about where the moon will be during the annual revolution. So I expect, paying attention around this time will be beneficial for the year to come. It's just kind of feeling out how the moon, sort of seeing what's here, kind of feeling out what's possible in this Gemini area, which has a lot more support now and will have more support for some time. So, well, let's see. Is that all I have? Well, that's all I have for the transiting report. We can look at the transits to the natal chart now. if I don't have anything else to say, well, on this day, Mercury will be not moving backwards anymore. Mercury will be. It said, I have it on my calendar that Mercury is going direct after the trine to Mercury, but Mercury will be not moving backwards. Is basically what it says. It's still stationless, motionless and stationary from our perspective, but Mercury will be moving forward this week, and Mercury is in his term since Monday, so Mercury will be in his term and moving forward by Saturday. Still motionless on Saturday, but it looks like the sun is there to pick up on the Mercury of last year. The moon is there to pick up on the moon of last year, and transiting Mercury retrograde and Saturn. So the moon has really got this message of what Mercury is doing towards Saturn by the end of the week. So it's really clear, it's really emotionally there, I want to say. With the square to Neptune, we might not be emotionally clear in one regard, but I feel like the clarity will be there in a way, in a power. It could be a very powerful way. It could be a very clear way, but I wouldn't discount the fact that Neptune is still making a T-square to the nodes. So anything that is about the past or the future, Neptune is there sort of distorting it or coloring it with its own force. So, all right, so that's really what I've got for that. Looks like through the weekend it's pretty good. When the moon moves into Cancer next week, we'll have the trine to the sun, and the sun will make this trine to the north node of last year. I don't know if that will matter, but I have it here, and it looks like we'll be in good alignment. The light will be in nice alignment for the beginning of next week. So I promised that we'd look at these 3 different transits to the natal chart here. Let me pull those up. Okay. All right. So this is a transit we're living through right now. So I have it pulled up. Mercury retrograde conjoined the natal moon. Just letting you read that here. I think that pretty reasonably fits the mood with which I've done this report. Yeah, communication has gone back to, things close to home during this time. We might see that expanded the rest of the day. It looks like you will seek out familiar elements in another person's history in order to show that you are not alone. You are not alone. We are in this together, so it's all right. Yep. You're more concerned with the elements that bind categories together rather than those that isolate them. Yeah, that's like kind of what the moon is, isn't it? Yeah, what we have in common, understanding we can all share together. I don't feel inclined to read any more of that, but if you'd like to, you can check it out. But yeah, what we're going to have tomorrow, so it's going to be the same, like where Mercury is right now, kind of how we're wanting to connect on this emotional level, on a personal level, on a feeling level, on a mood level. We're going to be, well, Jupiter's going to reach that. That's kind of the important thing. Mercury's going to pass right over it and come up to Jupiter, and then Jupiter's going to come up to that place about noon tomorrow, while the moon is picking up on Jupiter, the moon of last year. Mercury, Venus. Mercury enters his term. Tomorrow looks really interesting, you all. Let's skip over to Jupiter, though. And yeah, this is what we have going on for noon tomorrow. If you're living in this area, this will all apply to any place where there's a fixed sign ascending. Okay, yeah, extremely positive. You feel emotionally secure and in touch with your feelings, which can be expressed clearly and honestly, both to yourself and to others. At the same time, you have an enormous feeling of generosity, which enables you to give to others much more freely than usual without feeling diminished in any way. This combination of influences relates to the nurturing function within you, the desire to protect and care for, as well as the desire to be supported. You can nurture another at this time, or if you need to help yourself, you will get it. If you need help yourself, you'll get it. Yeah, so it's really expanding around the home and the, like you said earlier, the connective tissue, like the interconnectivity of our communicative ability within this Aquarian context. Oh, you can read the rest of this for you. I might come back and watch it and read it too, but that's really the gist of what I'm getting. Like you said, I'm not really looking to be too logical. I just want to see the interconnectivity. You know, like when I look at the astrology, it's really, I don't seem to fare well if I try to like use it so much, or to get the right, like, kind of over intellectualize, overthink, over wise too much of my own wisdom, looking at trying to make things happen or choose the circumstances I want based on what I'm seeing in the circumstances. It doesn't go very well. But being wise to it, we're desiring the wisdom of it that upholds it in good faith. Seems to do better, but that's the let's see. Yeah, I guess that's just how I feel about it right now. A good time to go home and see old friends and loved ones. It sounds really sweet, y'all. Connect with your nurturers, people you nurture, people that have nurtured you during this time. It's like a good time for nurturing overall. Tomorrow on the 15th. It's going to have an Aries moon quality, though, but still, it's the moon and Jupiter, so. Okay, I know we've approached a snail's pace here, but it's what I wanted to do. So let's see. So the next thing I have to talk about is Mars and Mars trine Jupiter. Now, Jupiter in this annual revolution is not in a great place. It's in the worst place, actually. So transits to Jupiter kind of make me wonder. This is while Moon is in Taurus, and at the time that the Sun is going into Pisces. So the Moon is making some hard aspects to the benefics and coming into contact with Mars. So I think we're picking up emotionally on, the challenges around these good significations, the difficulties. But let's take a look at what Robert Hand has to say. Let's go to Mars trine Mars first. There we are. This is a time of vigorous self-assertion. Without being excessively aggressive, you can make it clear to people that you are willing to work for what you want. Your energy level is high, and you can accomplish a lot of physical or mental work in a short time. Although physical labor releases the energy somewhat more effectively. A good time to take initiative and start a new project. You have the insight as well as the energy to follow it through to the conclusion. Although you can work very effectively with others under this transit, it might be better to work alone, unless the others can keep up with your pace and don't need to be constantly told what to do. So it's a sense of renewal, it feels like, for people in general, because this is, a transit. So for this area, I think we'll see it. We won't have to tell anybody about it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna have to go tell anybody, hey, it's this transit. You need to get your act together. No, I'm sure everyone will just be picking up on it, but it's good to know that we're gonna have that, right? Let me just scroll through here for anyone that's reading. The worst way to handle it would be to do nothing. Just because there's an opportunity there. There's an opportunity even in the midst of... so yeah, definitely some opportunity. Definitely want to pray to use this in the best way. Alright, so let's take a look at Mars trine Jupiter here. And we got one more after this, I think. This is one of the best transits for any kind of activity, for your energies are high, you feel good, and you believe that you can do twice as much work as usual, which you probably can. Your muscles have unusually good tone and vigor, so this transit is extremely favorable for any physical activity, especially athletics. So, could be characterized as lucky. You can plan with greater foresight. You can act with a complete picture in mind of what you were doing. This kind of puts up all the puzzle pieces together for me here, because it looks like this week is kind of about, like, if you can see it, then you can imagine it, then you can if you can think of it, you can imagine it, and if you can imagine it, you can make it happen. So definitely use today and the next day to nurture and feel out. Just think about the possibilities. Make sure, just take the time to think about it, and allow the the power of foresight to work. I think it's a big factor for right now, and will come. Jupiter will be in alignment with the North Node next week. There's some good aspects with Jupiter and the benefics and Mercury and the Moon next week. So it's a good time to think about it and consider it. Be from a calm place of humble sort of looking and thinking. Anyway, a particularly favorable time for any work that can advance your own interests, to do whatever will help growth take place in your life. Yeah. To avoid difficulty later, it's a good idea to not be self-aggrandizing. A growth of consciousness and knowledge. So we have a lot of possibility to expand here, but those that use it in a selfish way, so to speak, will have to pay for it later on. So it's best to use it with all of the benevolence that Jupiter represents. Yeah, so we want the blessing of insight. So get connected spiritually in the fear of God, and get wisdom, and that wisdom will move with you through all of this. If you took this video or this book, or you're reading the stars and you try to use it to manipulate the circumstances, it's just not going to have the power. God won't allow the same power to work through it as He would if you love wisdom. The Bible says that those who love wisdom are loved by wisdom. So that's the really the kernel, of this astrological knowledge is the wisdom. So we have that here. We've already read through most of it. Venus squared Mars will be going on in the transit during this time. And the last one we have to talk about is Sun conjoined Mercury. Guys, this whole Aquarian context is quite different, isn't it? The statement of the year. I think by Saturday with this, let's see. Let's just take a look at. Okay. All right. Let's just take a look at what he says. Transit emphasizes the area of your life, or in this case of the year, ruled by Mercury. There are several of these areas. It looks to me like the solar energy is coming to the way we've been communicating this year, the way the media has worked this year, the way transit has worked this year, the way transportation has worked this year, the way transmissivity has worked this year. The sun has come back to this place. Sending and receiving, routine, new business, commerce, rapid interchange of ideas and plans. Mercury is going direct this day. Mercury is in his own term. Mercury will still be in his term when Venus enters term on the 25th, and Jupiter aligns to the North Node on that day. So it looks promising, you know. I just want to emphasize, especially if you get wisdom. If you manipulate the circumstances, I don't know. It seems to me if you try to manipulate the circumstances using this knowledge, something that you didn't perceive, will counteract what you tried to do. But wisdom is the full measure. So let's see. Makes you most concerned with matters that apply directly to yourself or that speak to you through your personal experience. So it's like our personal energy, the way things are speaking to us on our personal level is more emphasized. Mercury is stopped in the sky. The moon is connected to Mercury and Saturn. So we'll be able to work with the limitations in a better way. The circumstances will be speaking to the limitations, or vice versa, it looks like. Initiating communication. Having a thorough understanding of the people and conditions you live with. Being excessively involved in yourself and your own ideas will weaken the effectiveness of what you do today. If your mind is filled with only your own thoughts, intentions, and what you plan to say, you will miss important cues from others concerning your plans. A good time to make plans for the future. If you have a good understanding of your needs now, you can plan intelligently to achieve what you want, as long as you aren't too preoccupied with yourself. You may also travel today, for an activated Mercury creates a restless tension within you that makes you want to move around. So yeah, there's a lot of different possibilities here. I think it's all the mercurial possibilities with our personal energy within this restricted Aquarian context, the best way that it can be with the trine to the moon. So it's showing up in the best way that it can. All right, you all. So I'm going to do one more thing before we go. I feel like we did some good work today. But we're going to go back to the calendar here and just make sure we didn't miss anything. Because I don't always have the outer planets turned on, so I wouldn't be surprised if I missed a transit to them. So let's... Yep. Man, guys, I'm really looking forward to next week. I really love Pisces season, y'all. I really am excited for that. It's supposed to snow all week, and it's the opposite of what I want. Okay. Okay, now. Yeah, so look at that. Look, I can't zoom, but up in the left-hand corner here, Moon trine Pluto, Mars trine Mars. So don't get caught up in taking advantage of other people just because you feel powerful. Everybody feels powerful right now, So it's kind of like if you take advantage of somebody, don't be surprised if you get taken advantage of, Do to other people with your planning, thinking, activity, visioning what you would have them do to you. Right? Don't use this to plan to take advantage, because there's just not, I'm telling you, there's not much support for that. So, well, I don't think there's any support for any kind of lawlessness, but the sun reigns, it rains on the just and the unjust. So people will be trying to do whatever they're going to do, right? But doing good never goes out of season. So, and I really think this astrology points to that. So, okay, I don't see anything else it looks like Mars is only building to this trine to Pluto, so that's kind of in the mix. So best you can, nurturing and conserving your energies to do the best you can for those you care about and for other people. Looks to be the message of this week. I don't see any other aspects. So with that, you all, I'm signing off. Thank you. So you all, if you've listened this far, I've changed my bio to include my ability to donate. If you like, it will go towards my personal needs and charity that I do. So if you would like to, I'd like to make it a possibility for my viewers. So thank you for watching. I pray that God will bless you and give you peace, wisdom, and understanding. In Jesus' name, amen. Have a great week, guys.